born in a small, tight village where everyone knows everyone's business. She was the youngest of three sisters, and from a very young age, she was known for her beauty, grace, and charm. Growing up, she always dreams of finding a love like the ones she read about in her books. Romantic, ideal, and everlasting. As fate would have it, she met Tunja, the son of a wealthy family in the village. When she was 19, Tunja was tall, handsome, and well spoken. He quickly captured her heart. After months of courting, he proposed to her in front of her family and friends. She joyfully accepted. Their wedding was grand. The entire village gathered, and for a few weeks, it felt like Emma had lived in a dream. She was married to a man she loved, and they moved into his family a central home, a large lounge house that had been in the family for generations. The house has a mixture of old world charm, an unsettling sense of control that made Emma uneasy, but she brushed it off, thinking things would get better as time passed. However, Emma's happiness began to wane when she realized that her marriage to Tunja was not as ideal as she had hoped. The first few months, she had tried to adjust to the overwhelming expectation placed upon her by Tunja's family. His mother, in a particular, was a dominating figure, constantly commenting on how Emma managed the household, the children, and the meals she prepared. No matter what Emma did, it was never enough. Emma gave birth to her first child, a daughter named Zima. She thought things would improve, but the opposite happened. Tunja's relative made sneered remarks about her parenting skills and judged her for every little thing. The pressure of living under constant scrutiny made her feel like a failure, even though she was given everything. She had to keep her family happy. A year later, when she had her second daughter, Emma, the situation only worsened. The house was battlefield. Tunja's brothers and uncles would come by to discuss family matters, often overlooking Emma as if she were invisible. She longed for moments of peace, but the constant tension in the house wear her down. She often spent her days alone, caring for the children and wondering how she could survive the suffocating weight of expectation placed on her. Emma had always believed in the sanctity of marriage. She trusted Tunja, and in ways she depended on him to be her rock amidst the confusion. However, over time, Tunja became more distant. His work took up more of his time, and when he was home, he spent his days with his family, discussing business, politics, and matters that didn't concern her. Emma tried to stay patient, knowing that he was working hard for their future, but she could feel the growing distance between them. One fateful evening, Tunja came back from work, already rushed to his brothers and sisters to have a conversation as usual. But this time around, Emma stopped him and she said, "My husband, have been observing you for months now. Anytime you come back from home, you don't normally discuss anything with me. You always run to your brothers for discussion. My husband, I think sometime is not right. You have to carry me along and also discuss some family business with me, your wife. Immediately, Tunja got angry with his wife Emma and said, "Woman, I don't have any business to discuss with you." "Wait," he said, "are you trying to make me to have problems with my family? You are wicked. Please, if you think that you are tired of this marriage, please pack your things and leave." On hearing this, Emma was shocked. She had not seen her husband in such manner. She held her chest and tears streamed down her face. Immediately, Tunja left to join his brothers. That day, Emma thought of so many things. She was cold. She felt so rejected and abandoned by her own husband. The next day, Emma went to meet her mother in law to narrate what happened between her and her son. After explaining everything to her mother in law blamed her for what happened between her and the husband. She threatened her that if she is not careful, that her son will leave and get married to another woman. This got Emma shocked and she left with tears. 1 week later, Tunja came back with a shocking announcement. He had fallen in love with another woman named Habiba, a beautiful woman from a neighboring town. Tunja, who had once been her partner, her confidant, now stood before her, telling her that he was going to get married to Habiba. Emma's world fell apart. Tunja explained that he no longer wanted to live in his family home with her and he planned to build a life with Habiba. He told Emma that he was moving out of the family house and taking Habiba with him. He said it in such a matter of fact that it felt like he had already made peace with the decision. Emma was left in a stunned silence, unable to process what she had just heard. She tried to be perfect wife, the perfect mother, but nothing seems to matter to Tunja anymore. He was gone, taking her dreams with him. One fateful morning, Emma packed her things. In a daze, she gathered her children and moved into a tiny one-room apartment in a less than ideal part of town. The room was cramped with peeling paints on the walls and a tiny mattress on the floor. But it was all she could afford. She had no family to turn to her. Her parents were old and lived far away, and her siblings had their own struggles. She was alone with her children. Life became a series of difficult choices. Emma worked long hours as a market vendor, selling fruits and vegetables. But no matter what, she still believed in herself. She continued to work hard in order to feed her children. The money she earned was barely enough to cover the most basic of needs. And at night, when the children cried from hunger, Emma would lie awake, wondering how she had ended up in this situation. Despite the overwhelming odds, Emma never gave up. She poured every part of her energy into providing for her children. But the reality of poverty and isolation began to take its role on her. Her children's health started to decline, and they often became sick due to malnutrition. Emma felt helpless, as though she were drawing in a sea of responsibility with way out. One day, after a particular exhausting week, Emma sat down and made a decision. She had heard of opportunities abroad, and she realized that the only way to give her children a better life was to travel. She spoke to her younger sister, Bimbo, and asked her to look after her two children while she went abroad to earn money. Though Bimbo was unsure, but she agreed to help. Emma made a difficult decision to leave her children behind. It broke her heart to leave them, but she felt that she had no other choice. She told herself that she would return in few years with enough money to ensure that her children would never have to suffer again. Few weeks later, Emma moved to Lagos, where she stayed with a friend for some days before she traveled to Libya. She was filled with hope and guilty. She traveled to a foreign country where she worked in multiple jobs to send money back home. She worked as a waitress, a cleaner, and a nanny, doing whatever it took to survive. However, no matter how hard she worked, she could never shake the feeling of loneliness. Her children were always on her mind, and every night she would call Bimbo, asking about them. But the news was never good. In the meantime, back in Nigeria, Emma's children were suffering. Bimbo, though loving and caring, was not able to provide for them as Emma could have. The children's health deteriorated as they went without proper food, and their education was neglected. One fateful day, Emma called Bimbo with the news that would change her life forever. Her children had an accident on their way coming back from school and were rushed to the hospital, and they had passed away. Emma's heart shattered. The pain of losing her children was too much to bear. She realized that in her request to give them a better life, she had lost the most precious thing in the world. The guilt of leaving them behind consumed her. 3 weeks later, Emma prepared to come back to Nigeria. She believed that there was no reason for her to remain in Libya. She returned to Nigeria, a broken woman. The loss of her children was something she could never imagine. She walked the streets of her village, feeling like a ghost. The life she had known, the hope she had once clung to, was gone. Her dreams had crumbled, and she could not escape the weight of her decision. She tried to find peace in her family, but the scars of her journey ran too deep. She has sacrificed everything for her children, but it has not been enough. Emma could only mourn, reflect, and wonder what could have been wrong. Guys, trust you find this story interesting. What moral lesson do you learn from this story? Please subscribe to my channel at African Tales by Ifenkili. Like and share with family and friends. Turn on your notification buttons and stay tuned for more interesting and mind-blowing stories coming your way next time. Guys, remain blessed. Bye.